How's it going, YouTube? Marshall Dragon back again with another YouTube video. So today I'm going to be showing y'all how to remove the governor off of your Monster Moto 80cc mini bike. So, already got the front of the bike cleaned up because you're going to be wanting to drain your oil for your first step. So in order to do that, you're going to need like a 10mm box end wrench and a nice like foil pan to like put underneath there just to catch the oil. And then we'll start with that, and then I'll bring on to the next step of the disassembly process. Alrighty, so we got the oil draining right now. So yeah, it was a 10mm bolt indeed for that bolt right there. And yeah, the drain pan works as you would think it would. So the next step in the disassembly process is going to be taking off this cover right here, which I believe is 3 nuts, or 3 bolts and 2 screws. And then you want to take your clutch off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll pick the video back up. Alrighty, so we got our clutch off, and I forgot to mention, but when you take your clutch off, you're going to want to undo your chain tensioner right here. So you want to take your chain tensioner off, and there's my chain right there. And the way you get the chain off is you start from this rear sprocket right here, work your way off, and then it loses all its tension up here so you can get your clutch off right there. And the thing is in a specific order your chain tensioner is, so just remember how that thing goes in order and you'll be okay. So next step, I believe all the oil is done draining, but I am going to pull it a couple times with the motor, of course, turned off, just to there you go, just to get any leftover oil out. I'm gonna put that bolt back in, and we're gonna take the fuel tank off. Then we're gonna tilt the bike on its side, so that way we can open up our crankcase. So without further ado, here we go. Alrighty, so we got our fuel tank off of the bike. Little fun fact, you're going to have to take off your air cleaner. So that's 2 8mm bolts right there. And then this, your carburetor will then be able to move, but you need those bolts off because the air cleaner kind of gets in the way of the 2 5/16 bolts on top of the head right here that hold the fuel tank on, and the other 2 on this side are pretty easy to get to, so no need to worry about those on that side. But now we've got our fuel tank off right there. What else? Now we can actually tilt the bike over on its side. We don't have to worry about any fluids spilling anywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and tilt my bike on its side. So now I got the bike on the floor. I just went ahead and put some towels underneath the points that are actually touching the ground, just to, I guess, keep things from getting too badly scratched up. Not that they would if you didn't have them on there. So next is going to be removing the actual crankcase cover and cracking the case. Now, for those of y'all that didn't know, there is a spacer, washer, whatever you want to call it, that was on the other side of the clutch. Make sure that comes off, just because if you don't, then you may be wondering why there's this part laying around somewhere. So I believe these are going to be 10mm bolts. If not, they're going to be 5/16. So I'm going to go ahead and get my socket, and we'll get all that taken off. So here we go. So the bolts were 5/16. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. I went ahead and took that one off. That was a linkage to the throttle right there. So that's off. After you got that, this should just lift right off. Now I can see my gasket is kind of stuck in some places, and it's not stuck in others. So just kind of, if you can, just try and peel it off and get on the bottom of the crankcase, and it should just lift off just like that. And then flip this over. Your governor is right there. So I'm I'm gonna get this on my table and we'll disassemble that. So we got our crankcase cover right here on the table. I went ahead and pried this cap off already. And the main thing is there's like a small little clip. You can kind of see it right there. You're gonna want to get to that. So I'm just gonna take off, you know, all of this right here. Take that off, and then we'll have a straight access to that clip. And I'll pick the video up when I get to that. I got my washer off right there. You just gotta twist it off with some needle nose pliers. Now, the next thing you got right here is you got that small metal clip. You can see right around there. So, what I'm gonna try to use this like little pick and start the bending of it, and just see where that takes me, and we'll go from there. So yeah, that pick idea was very good. You just gotta push that in there and it'll eventually bend out of the way. You can see that metal washer right in there. Now you also had a spacer, that one on that side. Make sure that comes out because you don't want that floating around in your crankcase. So with that being said, your governor, if you got to this step, your governor is removed, and the only thing left to do is reassemble your engine. So let's get to that. So now we have this big shop pile full of parts. So next, what I went ahead and did was, before I disassembled my governor I took the crankcase, the side cover off, is I went ahead and put a shop towel to make sure, you know, no dust could get in there. So just lift that up. Now, double check. You never know if your camshaft could skip a gear or something when you lift up on it. So make sure your timing marks are aligned, and mine are, thankfully. And the next thing you're going to want to do is put your side cover back on there. It goes the same way it came off with the 7 bolts. So go ahead and do that. That's what I'm gonna do, and I'll pick up the video when that is done. So yeah, got the bolts, just snug them up. They don't have to be to any certain specific thing. As long as they're snug, they'll be fine. So we got that back on. Now, I mean, if you want to clean up, well, no, we got that. Take this stuff out of the way and pick your bike back up because you just removed the governor. So we got that done, and next we're gonna put our fuel tank on, hook that up, and reattach that, put the air cleaner on, and clutch, chain tensioner, chain, and it will be a done deal. So without further ado, let's put the fuel tank back on. So I got my fuel tank back on, and shouldn't have taken you as long as it did me, but make sure though when you're putting it back on that one of your bolts doesn't go into the recoil starter thing, because I had to take that off, and that was that. But I had to go to an FFA meeting, so that's why it's later in the day now, or nighttime. But the next step is going to be reassembling your clutch stuff. So since the clutch is off the bike, I am going to go ahead and service my clutch, even though I serviced it probably 3 engine hours ago, if even that, probably not even that, but I'm gonna go ahead and service again since it's already off the bike. So I'm gonna show you all how to do that. Alrighty, so we got our clutch on our table. As you can see right here, we got our snap ring. Now, if you had a pair of snap ring pliers, use that if you have it. I don't have a pair of snap ring pliers, so I want to use these 2 picks right here, put that in there, and then pry it off. So I'm gonna get that done, and I'll show y'all what to do next. So after you get your snap ring off, just pull up, and now you have your surfaces that you're going to want to clean. So the main thing is going to be lubricating that right there. You're gonna want high temp grease according to Monster Moto. So I'm gonna wipe off some of this dust right here, this old stuff around here, and reassemble it, and then I'll show y'all putting it back on the bike. So yeah, now we got our clutch all serviced. You're gonna want to take that, find the key on the inside, and line that key up with the So I got my clutch on there, chain tensioner, so that's the same way things go back on as I did off. Next, I'm gonna drain out all the old oil. I didn't realize this, but I didn't get all of it out. Undo that, and then I'm gonna put my new mix of oil in there. So I'm gonna get the rest of the oil out, and I'll pick up the video. So now we finally got all the old engine oil drained. So here's what I like to do. I like to use this oil additive right here, designed for classic engines and racing, just because it adds a little bit more protection. Use a high quality synthetic oil after you delete your governor, because you're gonna have some serious RPMs turn. It ain't gonna stop a rod being thrown if it is ragged on for too long, but it could at least delay the process. So this right here doesn't give any direct measurements, but if you do the math on it, it's made for hot rod engine. So a classic hot rod engine, probably like a 350. A 350 takes typically 5 to 6 quarts of oil. This is 16 ounces right here. There's 32 ounces in a quart. Do the math, and you're looking at 1 ounce per quart of oil. So go ahead and put 1 ounce in there, and then 13 ounces of, actually no, 1 ounce. This is a 12 ounce oil capacity engine. So put 1 ounce of this and then 11 ounces of that for a total of 12 ounces. So I'm gonna do that and we'll fire up. So we got this thing filled up with oil, everything serviced. We don't have this on there yet, just in case something isn't attached right. So we're gonna leave that off, but that can be done very easily. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cranking on it and trying to get her to fire up. So here we go. All right, let's see if she will fire up. So let's turn our fuel on. All of our connections are good. Make sure that's on. Put it on choke and give it 2 turns, and I'll start pulling. All right, we're getting somewhere now. There you go. I'm gonna let her warm on up and take it for a drive and put that on there and then call it good. Thank y'all for watching. Have a nice day.